Student turned doctor, YouTuber, businessman, and now author, it's safe to say that there is no one more qualified to write a book about productivity than Ali Abdaal. When I first saw the title, I was a little skeptical. Even though I am a huge Ali fan, the title Feel Good Productivity does seem like a bit of an oxymoron. When I think about productivity, I usually don't associate it with anything feel good. I usually think of discipline and motivation and slogging through a hard task. But even so, I picked up the book and now I'm about 2/3 of the way through, and I have to say, it's a pretty easy read, and you can tell a lot of thought went into the book's structure. It's organized into 3 parts: energize, unblock, and sustain. Each part tackles a different part of the productivity equation. Energize helps you find ways to maintain positive emotions through any task. Unblock talks about some of the common barriers that prevent us from working on a task. And the final part, which I haven't read yet, is called Sustain, and it's all about avoiding burnout. The first surprise of the book is that the first chapter is entirely dedicated to play. It's counterintuitive to think that we should play to be productive, but Ali does a good job of showing that once there is some desired outcome, play goes out the window. We become serious and develop a sort of tunnel vision working towards the goal. Because we're focused on the shortest, most efficient path towards achieving our objective, we become blind to other possibilities. That goal effectively becomes a decision point for whether the activity was a success or a failure. When you treat the task as something fun, though, you become focused on the process rather than the objective. Focusing on the activity itself simplifies the task because you aren't spending energy evaluating your progress. You can just focus on being in the moment and getting the task done. So what does that look like in practice? Instead of doing the dishes, you could have a dance party. My favorite chapter so far is chapter 4, Seek Clarity. In this chapter, Ali explains how uncertainty can lead to procrastination. To help us tackle this problem, Ali introduces us to the concept of commander's intent. Commander's intent tells us that a plan for what a soldier should do can only go so far. You can't plan for everything, so you have to make sure every soldier on the battlefield understands the commander's intent. That intent is defined by 1. The purpose of the operation, 2. The end state the commander was aiming for, and 3. The key tasks that the commander felt were necessary to accomplish the objective. Now, if you read last month's book, Start With Why, this concept might seem familiar. When we define our purpose really well, it becomes a useful tool for getting unstuck when we're doing something new. Let's say you're trying to learn how to code. If you get stuck, ask yourself, why you're learning to code in the first place? If you're trying to turn it into a career, you might become more deliberate about choosing a certain programming language, and you might start doing leak code problems to help you get really good at coding. But if you're just trying to learn it because you want to automate something at work, your definition of success might change. You might just learn the basics well enough to achieve that task that you wanted to automate. You don't care if your code is super efficient, you just want to get the tasks done. Of course, no book on productivity can be complete without mentioning goal setting. On one hand, goals can give you clear direction. On the other hand, there are many ways that goals can go wrong. Goals can be poorly defined or unrealistic. It's also possible to have too many goals, which end up pulling you in a million different directions. And it's easy to set goals for factors that are completely outside your control. For example, I want 1 million subs by the end of the year. It's entirely possible for me to do everything right, and for whatever reason, you just don't feel like clicking the subscribe button. To tackle some of these problems, Ali introduces us to his own framework, the NICE framework. The NICE framework stands for near-term, input-based, controllable, and energizing. Near-term refers to the time horizon of the goal. According to Ali, goals shouldn't have a time horizon more than a week out. Goals should also be input-based, meaning they should be measured by the amount of effort going in rather than the outcome. Controllable means the goal should be something you can reasonably manage with the time you have. And then finally, energizing. Is there a way for you to incorporate play, like we talked about earlier, or maybe other people, that helps you achieve the goal faster or more easily? I really like this framework because it does address some of the problems of traditional goal setting. It's kind of nice. First off, it helps you manage scope way better. If you're only setting goals with a time horizon of 1 week, it's hard to set a goal that's too big. And anyone who has had to work in a big company is probably familiar with annual objective setting. Every year, you have to set goals that are months in the future, and they're so far away that they almost don't feel real. And by the time the year-end review comes around, you might not even remember those goals. I also like the focus placed on input rather than the outcome. It helps you make sure that you're not setting an objective that is outside of your control, and it helps you stay focused on the process and doing the activity itself rather than constantly measuring your progress. So, those are my first impressions of Ali Abdaal's new book, Feel Good Productivity. If you're following along, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How far along in the book are you? Which of the experiments in each of the chapters did you find most interesting? My next video will be a full summary, and I can't wait to see you there.